So the Fed has got some announcements recently. We see some rate cuts in the horizon here, and then also you got the President Trump announcements that they are going to have a stimulus, and then he says, "Oh no, actually, it's going to be a little bit longer for the stimulus." So you see that kind of pushing onto the distance. And while that's all happening, you see data center stocks do very well. You see AI stocks do pretty well, but the labor market's okay. It's soft. You see a lot of things in the labor market kind of go down. You see some more layoffs, maybe not. While the AI is crushing it, robotics companies are doing well. Space tech is doing well. Quantum, well, is record year this year. You still see some people struggling with the labor market in certain areas. But as we know, there's always opportunities and there's always going to be value that is created in up and down markets. And right now you see the market having a correction a few weeks ago and then having a nice rebound today. And I wanted to go over Redwire stock. I wanted to go over some of our defense plays. We were trading Redwire this morning. Didn't move much since entry. We were in it this morning. It's literally $12 profit there, as you can see, nothing crazy. But we've been waiting on this Redwire position for about a week now, or end of last week, we entered a position on Redwire, and that was in our daily live sessions in StockMate, which if you ever want to join, it's the second link below to tune on in. And then in that process of doing the trade with Redwire, we see them still hold below this EMA, potentially looking to break up above the EMA. Now, a lot of times when we've seen them, with the exception of right here, when they've broken up above the EMA, this exponential moving average, we've gotten really good trends and really good uptrends. And that's why I hold them over my Schwab portfolio, but we also have Redwire here in the a short-term trade over here in Robinhood. But when they've broken up above that EMA, a lot of times you've seen them hold a trend like this. That was a 100% swing here back from April to June. Now that was a really good market recovery, but even before that recovery, we saw them holding above that EMA and trending up really from what was about April of 2024 all the way up until $26 a share from like $3 a share. And that was by February. Now, since February, they haven't made that recovery. In fact, they've really pumped down. It almost, when I look at it like this, it looks like it's a pump and dump. It really looks like it. But if you kind of take a look at what things look like and you kind of eliminate some of the extra view here and you kind of look down, it's also like it's a market cap build. And even though it's down from $26 a share, it's basically where it was at this time last year, maybe a little bit lower. And so it hasn't moved much in the last year, but there's been a lot of improvements in the stock. And that's what I want to go over. On top of that, I'd like to jump into maybe Big Bear AI a little bit. We did cover that one, CTM. We touched on quantum stocks, that they were seeing rebounds around the 200-day moving averages, especially with Rigetti. We saw them find some support levels and consolidate after a sell down through November, and then now they're kind of finding support levels. So quantum stocks potentially getting geared up to potentially continue their run if they can get back up above the CMA, if they could find that support. AI and data center stocks are just in a really good trend. They pull back, they continue up. APLD had a pretty monster day today. We saw them pull down here through November, but APLD is on a streak right now, and we traded APLX actually earlier this week, which is up 44%. And so I'm going to get into a few stocks, but really I'd like to primarily just focus in here on Redwire real quick, as we do have some positions going in the space tech market. How are you guys doing today? How is everyone doing on this beautiful Thursday evening here? Let's take a look here. And I want to open up the chat and make sure I can see you guys. Because here's what's interesting. When we're looking at Redwire, I don't know if you guys know, and maybe some people know this, but they're one of 14 prime contractors on a $2.6 billion deal. And their market cap is still pretty low. They're currently at 900 million. They have more cash than they know what to do with. They got more cash than total market cap, and equity is positive, greater than their market cap. And so the financials, they look pretty solid. Now, the market of space tech is also at an all-time high with revenues increasing. So we see maybe not all-time highs across the stock prices, but from a revenue perspective, from most space tech companies, a lot of them recently pulled down to that 200-day moving average, like Rocket Lab, but that they are seeing increases in revenue. So big time advancements in the space tech market right now, and that's something we're following. What ticker symbols are you guys watching right now? What are some of the top companies that you're looking at? I also wanted to look at LUNR. I really wanted to, and I think that might even be the thumbnail. I wanted to look at LUNR because LUNR is one of the space tech companies that has had a lot of recent contracts, and they're still holding below prices that I would expect them to be a lot higher at this time. And maybe it's that the defense market's a little slower. Maybe it's that the jobs are down a tiny bit, or I don't know if it's something to do with that the space market might just generally be lagging. But the space market profits in general have been going up. So we'll see how that kind of ties in here into the next few weeks. But yeah, I would like to go over that. So let's see. What are you guys watching today? All right, you got, let's see, Biggie's looking at TSSI. Oh, that's a really interesting one. And Lunar Terrain Vehicle contract. Oh, interesting, Elvis. Let's take a look there. I'd definitely like to see that. And ASTS. Ooh, ASTS. They are one that they're doing like the 5G from space, but they're way overvalued at their current price. That's the only thing. I was introduced to them when I had a friend that was working at a company that was working with ASTS, and they were only $3 a share. Now this was years ago, and I made a mistake. I did some call options and I bought calls, and they expired worthless, I believe, or maybe I rolled them into something. But ASTS continued to rocket from $3 up to like $60 a share. So what you have to realize is that when you're investing in something, a lot of times, if you think it's going to go up, it's going to take a lot longer than you think. A lot of times. 4 a.m. in Germany, says Thomas. Oh my gosh. All right, let's jump into it. So a lot of people have been asking about LUNR. LUNR stock primarily is focused on infrastructure for the governments in relation to lunar missions, hence the ticker symbol LUNR. And unlike, companies like Black Sky or Rocket Lab, where you have like a lot of infrastructure launches and things like that, LUNR is focusing on kind of like what's already up in space right now. And if we look at their site, let's go take a look and let's pull them up inside of Prophecy, LUNR. And let's get some projections from the stock here. Okay. We'll see what Claude has to say about LUNR. But what they specialize is they're specializing in servicing the infrastructure that is already in space. So when Rocket Lab launches a satellite, there's now something that needs to happen where you can connect, or the different spacecrafts that go up, can you service them? Can you go from one spacecraft to the other? And LUNR specializes in technologies that allow companies like NASA and other space companies to be able to essentially travel or transfer goods from one spacecraft to another. And on top of that, they're working on technology for the moon. They work on delivery services primarily. So that's transportation and delivery of payloads, satellites, scientific instruments, cargo to various destinations in space. Services include rideshare delivery and lunar surface access. They're like Uber, but for space. Except they're not moving people, they're moving cargo. And so you got infrastructure as a service, scalable on-demand access to lunar systems needed to live and work. I thought that was really interesting. So they have this technology. they got some lunar missions that have been going on, a few lunar missions going to the moon, and then they have some infrastructure as well for different companies that are making deployments. And their current missions, you got this, it's IM1, it's called. It's a mission recap. And you can see Intuitive Machines, they launched to get some Earth pictures, some pictures of Earth. And this is actually the image. They had this, this is their Intuitive Machines lunar machine here, sponsored by Columbia. You got NASA there. And look at that. They got some really beautiful pictures of the Earth. Okay. And you can see some of the other technology that they're building. For example, on technology for landing on the moon. Now, you might say, all right, well, that's all good, but what about us down on Earth? How is this going to be valuable for the everyday person? Apple stock's a great buy because Apple is running the MacBook that's running this live stream. Well, there's certain infrastructures. For example, Starlink is the internet that runs a lot of live streams. In fact, when I'm in California, that's the internet that we use. There's infrastructure in space that's making Earth services more convenient. And so Starlink's one example, but that's just one example in the many, many, many different infrastructures that would be helpful to have related to space tech. And if it's not solely for the everyday human, it's also for the governments. That's why you see the revenue on their company really increasing up to 186% year over year. Now, they did spend a lot more negative net income at one point in December, but their net income did improve the last quarter about 87% to just about negative 10 million, and their revenue is holding around 50 million a quarter. So they're doing about 250 million a year, and they got total assets of about 750 million. With liabilities lower, they're pretty healthy, pretty disciplined. And the only thing is that liabilities have gone up more than their assets in the last quarter, which is not always a good sign. But previously, they kept it much more healthy and distributed. So they're pretty disciplined for the most part with their finances. And so if they're at $1.84 billion market cap right now, doing 250 million a year in revenue, a little bit of a negative net income, nothing major. Balance sheet's at equity of 250 million. So there's about $500 million. Their contracts, when we look at some of their investor press releases, what can we calculate? All those things contributed to what their current price should be. Well, I mean, they're currently having some really good product developments. You got NASA lunar missions, you got the employees for sure, but they've had some recent deals. There's an $8.2 million contract with Air Force Research Laboratory to advance in-space nuclear power technology. That sounds almost scary. New funding accelerates space-based nuclear power toward flight readiness. Okay, so imagine a world where solar is the most pervasively used energy source power in today's missions. But imagine a world where we're able to build nuclear powered space tech. This seems highly risky to me, but it does seem like if anybody was going to do it, you'd want to get it done. Or if anybody were to solve it, it may cause very much innovation to happen in space. I don't know if you guys have seen recently, but like one of the big talks, especially because it can have a negative impact sometimes down on Earth from like noise pollution and also just general energy management, is like data centers in space. Have you guys heard about this? So data centers, Google is proposing that we're going to have this sun catcher which aims to power AI in space, and essentially it's a data center in space. And there's a bunch of companies now that, like this one's even backed by Nvidia, that are building data centers in space right now. They're working on building these 5 gigawatt data centers that are running on solar power, and then sending them back to, the compute back to Earth. It's kind of insane. And so if you look at that, this is a company that, top companies, you got Google definitely as an investor, Nvidia, and you got to look at that and say, okay, that's the type of infrastructure that's getting built in space. You're going to need companies like LUNR, Intuitive Machines, that's basically what they say. They say, hey, we're here to move things around from payload to payload, from one machine to another. And so I think that's a big reason why we're following them. That's why we're looking at LUNR. What's going on, Luis? Uncompromised one, what's going on? Give us some more winners. Yeah, I think LUNR is one I'm following, but it's only based on what we see now. The space market is at all-time highs, just from a revenue perspective. And from a balance sheet perspective, most of these companies have never seen the balance sheets as high as they are right now. And in the space tech world, if I had to pick 3 space tech companies, I would probably pick Rocket Lab, LUNR, Redwire, Black Sky, Planet Labs, and definitely AMD. AMD is just, in general, one of our top picks for the long term. I think they're still just not even close to where they're going to be in market cap 5 years from now. And let's see what else we got going. Thomas is at 4 a.m. in Germany, tuned in. That's absolutely crazy. We got a nutcase here. No, I'm just kidding. Thanks for tuning in, Thomas. Appreciate you. ASTS is going to disrupt terrestrial communication in like 1 year, not just space. Yeah, so ASTS, they're there, and I love the company's like mission, right? Because if you're innovating in the level of, let's say, internet communications in a way that can't be easily replicated, in this case, they have these big 5G panels that get distributed into space, kind of like this, and they kind of hover around the Earth, right? And they allow mobile broadband networks. So they partnered with Google, Vodafone, AT&T, Verizon, and many others, Bell. And it makes sense that they're in that really good spot of the market. They have an advantage for the future. However, when you look at their financials, they're negative net income. They made 14 million last quarter. That's all good, but they're losing, 100 million a quarter. That's a big negative net income to have. 100 million negative a quarter. They got 2.5 billion in assets, but about 1.6 billion in equity. If they keep losing the way they're losing, they could be out of business in 3 or 4 years. So they gotta get the negative net income under control. I think that is I know it's a space tech company, but there are some space tech companies that are even having positive net incomes. I mean, when we're looking, there's times where Redwire was almost even. And of course, big companies, you got big investments, I get that, but I don't think you have to look at your company in terms of, a lot of times if they're bringing in a lot of value, they are going to be making money, at least, right? It's a measurement of value provided to the market. SingArm, what's going on? Black Sky, especially with the new, they just got a few new contracts. Black Sky, SingArm, Elvis, what's going on? And what do we have going as far as LUNR's, chart? When I was looking at their chart this last month, we were watching them uptrend here over the last year from 2024 into these new levels here around $10 a share now. And you kind of see this level of resistance. They've been consolidating, or I guess slightly uptrending from up and down between this $7, $6 rising support level and this $13 to $15 rising resistance level. And currently they did just bounce right here around this $8 range. And we were looking for them to potentially break back above this EMA, as we've seen them do, a lot of times in the past, LUNR, and make this run back up into here around $15 a share. Now, LUNR's current price of where they should be, I think that's reasonable. So around $15 a share, to me, would make a lot of sense. And so that's a 65% increase from here. It's quite the large improvement for LUNR. And what else we got going on, Luis? What's going on, Luis? Do you think I should add to my Redwire position on my average is $7, but a long hold? I don't know. It depends on your goals. Redwire to me is oversold. Would I personally, I just bought more Redwire, but it has been slightly disappointing around the market cap build because they have the contracts, they have the revenue, but it's like one of those instances when we were buying up AMD and it just continued to sell off. And I was talking about it at $150 that it should be a $200 stock. And then it goes to, $120. Wow, it should be a $200 stock. It goes to $100. Oh, I mean, they got the Starlink partnership. They're building data centers. Look, they're doubling their revenue. It should be a $200 stock. It drops to $75. I'm sitting here and people are saying, Will, what's your take on AMD? And I'm saying, it's a $200 stock. It took 8 months and then it rocketed in a matter of a month or two from $75 up to $160 and then up to $250 a share. And so, it's like the exponential curve. It takes time. But with the LUNR stock and with most stocks, you can see the projections on KULR for the next year is very bullish, actually anticipating over 45% gain over the next year. But let's pull up BKSY let's pull up Redwire for Michael here. So Michael, you got bullish projections on Redwire from KULR over the next month, about 5.8%. And nearest support level at 542 with nearest resistance at $6.60. So if I had to look at the prophecy here, prophecy AI, looks like technicals resistance 550, but also support level, it's currently at 550. If it bounces here, we're looking at next target's resistance at 650. So for Redwire, where it's at currently, it's actually at a key level of resistance that could be a breakout for Redwire. You kind of see it. This is why we were trading them this morning in our daily live trading session. That's why we have them right now and why we're making a video about them as well. They just reached the resistance at 550. And what do we know about reversals? There's 3 stages to reversal. First, you have the general direction that it starts. Okay, so let's take a step back here. You had this downtrend, right? Very consistent downtrend. Can everybody see? You got a very consistent downtrend from about October, making lower lows, lower highs, selling down, and then now kind of consolidating here from left to right with even a little bit near resistance at where it's at now, but also kind of a resistance up here. Something like this, we're looking at a potential recovery. Now it is at a resistance here at 550. That's what we were just looking at in the AI. It's saying resistance at 550, support at 542, excuse me, that it's holding above. It's holding above the support. And so the AI, and also what we're kind of looking at here and why we've been patiently holding it, is anticipating that we're looking at a break above 550, holding above that previous resistance as a support, and making this run back up into this level around 650 and making the breakout reversal. Now the breakout reversal looks much more promising. Okay, so now you're looking at a reversal of something like this. Okay, we look back here, looks like it's sold down so much that a reversal here could be substantial, as much as 100% or more on Redwire, if it's able to make that. Now, with their current market cap lower than their total equity, I think that this type of stock Warren Buffett would buy. I mean, just according to how he buys. But you still got other companies where people would rather put their money, just taking longer to develop, and still in the consolidation phase, not fully, breaking out from this left to right that it's in over the last 2 weeks. So that's kind of the main analysis with Redwire. I'd look for a break above 550, and we'll be watching there throughout the rest of the week as we are in it. And a little bit later live session, guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks so much, Luis, Jose, Black Sky. You're looking at Black Sky. Black Sky is one to watch for sure. I think they're in the same boat. If you look at Black Sky, you look at the $17.50 range. They were in a downtrend, very consistent downtrend, just like Redwire. You see this through October. Downtrend, 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 even more. And then they kind of started to consolidate. And this is really what happened. You had a support level here, and then you had a resistance level here. Resistance, resistance, that is now acting as their support level, and they're looking to continue this breakout here. So with Black Sky, they're in a similar boat where they were downtrending very consistently over the course of about a month. You can see that there. They started to consolidate from left to right, as we saw with Redwire, but they didn't stay consolidating. They broke out. Now they're using that previous resistance as a support level and looking to continue the reversal back up into that overall uptrend that we've seen with Black Sky. So Black Sky has this overall uptrend kind of similar to this, right? Or this is their chart, literally. $3 a share up to 22, then back down to 5, then up to 29. They went back down to 12, and now they're, again, making that reversal. So a few levels to watch. In fact, in this case, obviously we could see that reversal back to 33, but let's just look at Fibonacci, get a better idea. How you do Fibonacci is you go from the top, the nearest downtrend, to the lowest point, and then you're going to drag up from the retracement point from here up to where you would see it going. In this case, we would see it going conservatively would be back to these kind of previous resistance levels, right? So somewhere right in here, maybe you get, a bullish, even more of a bullish trend further, but that's kind of how it looks. Okay. So how we kind of measure this now is you're looking at the entry point is right around this 0.618. So if you were trying to swing trade it, I don't know what you guys are doing, what your plan is. You'd have to let me know. But if you're looking for like a day trade, this is kind of a totally different scenario. Like I'm not even talking about a day trade here. Maybe you could treat it as a swing trade and then it takes off in one day and you sell it in the same day, but that's not normally how we do it unless, like I said, there's volatility and we end up hitting a take profit or stop really quickly or something. Then maybe we make the same trade in one day. But a lot of times, it's going to be something where we buy it in something that we're already holding long term, but we see a dip opportunity or we see a potential trade, and then we're holding it for a couple of days, couple of weeks, even months to see the development of it, and we sell it for a profit or just keep it in a long-term position. And so in this case, you're looking at, if you're looking for that swing trade, according to Fibonacci, you got 0.618 golden ratio, you could say, right around 18 a share is really the buy box for Black Sky. From there, you'd be expecting up to about 20. It's 10% gain. A very good trade would be into that, $22 range plus. And then, amazing, everything goes perfect, above that purple range of the 0.236. So that would be over 30%. I think Black Sky's financials and contracts recently, along with their pattern that they have right now, puts them right around that buy territory, around $18.50. So that's kind of how it looks, when you just look into their trend, you can look at their financials, but they have contracts all over the place. They have this AI-driven analysis here where they have their Gen 3 satellites that they've launched with Rocket Lab. So they've done a ton of missions with Rocket Lab of these Gen 3 satellites, very high resolution, and they basically are the world's most demanding organizations are using them for their intelligence. So AI-driven satellite imagery. They can track boats, cars, planes, people, probably even read the license plates. I think they're that good at looking down back on Earth. And they got some big contracts to back it up. We've seen some really big contracts recently. Just in November, there was another deal. They had some other multi-million-dollar deals this last month. And so financials also fairly line up. Their market cap, let's see, that's the wrong company. That's Rocket Lab. Their market cap's at 636 million, and they're making about 20 million a quarter with about 380 million in assets. They're doing fine. They're doing fine. And so, yeah, anyway, those are some of the levels we're watching into this next week. Lumen stock. I don't know. I don't know. Is that a space tech company, Lumen? Let me know. I've definitely gotten to take a look at some of them, but we got to look at top space companies today. What happened? It says, what happened to KULR? For me, for KULR, it was a lack of transparency. And it seemed like there was a lot of manipulation on the stock and some articles that were pretty bogus. But I get DMs all the time. Let me read some of the DMs that I've gotten related to KULR stock recently on Instagram. If you guys ever want to send me messages or things like that on Instagram, I read everything for sure. Whenever I get a chance, I'll go take a look at what people say. But one of the things, here we are. So Army is eyeing a laser weapon that could be from KULR. A laser weapon, and then electrical and thermal simulations. They're talking about the industry. Leonardo DRS spells out its latest approach to counter UAS. KULR stock developed a counter UAS directed energy battery system from purchase order and prototype in 5 weeks. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of news. I get all, like, I'm just scrolling through DMs right now. Eric is one of them. Eric sends a bunch of messages. I get people that send me messages about a lot of different stocks, but I still get a ton of messages about KULR. But what I don't like about KULR stock, KULR, is that they just weren't honest. They weren't honest. And they frankly, they kind of lied. They kind of lied in their marketing. And I haven't looked at it in so long. I don't even know if their site looks the same. Yeah, it kind of looks the same. But when they showed the robotics, they're not going to show it anymore because they probably got caught. But there was a moment where they were showcasing their robotics, and they showed some robotics that were not even their robotics, and they were saying that it was like their developments. And I took some screenshots, did some digging, and it wasn't even legitimate. And at that point, I was finding that they were in way too many industries. They went into, from batteries, they got the SpaceX mission canceled. Then they went into robotics, Bitcoin, and now I guess lasers, all in a quarter. Like they went into 5 different industries and then tanked their earnings. And at that point, I was like, oh man, I don't trust them anymore. And it's just an integrity thing. I mean, I don't know where they're at right now. We can kind of see oh wow, they're down 82% year to date. Wow. Yeah, it was right here. It was back in February or March. I think it was right around here when I was like, I noticed red flag manipulation. And let's see, negative net income. Yeah, their revenue's still pretty stagnant. They have some cash, but yeah. Yep, too much manipulation and not enough honesty. It's common. It's amazing. Sometimes I feel like crypto companies that are started for like $0 that don't cost money, that somebody does an initial coin offering and says this token represents our company. Some of those companies are more honest and of more integrity, and when they get the money, they keep it and they handle it responsibly, more so than some of these, stock companies that spend $500,000 or $1 million, $1 million or more just to get on the stock market. It's mind-boggling. It really is. It's amazing. It's amazing. Let's see what else we got. Any quick thought on LAES at the moment? I don't have any negative thoughts. I got nothing negative to say about it. Look, the quantum market is a market that we all know is taking time to develop. But when you're a lot of the good companies too, they're way too early. They're way too early. And I think LAES is an example of a company that I think is too early. They're working on cybersecurity for quantum computers. And, possibly they bounce this 200-day moving average, continue up. They're kind of breaking below this resistance, trying to hold around that $4 range. Quantum cybersecurity, even quantum technology alone is one thing. I mean, granted, we're starting to use it in our Prophecy app when we do analysis here. I can actually pull up an IonQ projection or Rigetti projection. So we're starting to use a quantum backend in our AI technology for analyzing stocks. So I believe in quantum technology, but as far as cybersecurity in quantum, it's so far away. It's just so far away, I think. And so you see their negative net income. They're not really making that yet. They have 142 million. Yeah, $832 million market cap. I would just hold off personally. I haven't gotten involved in it all year. But I think how are they doing? Yeah, I mean they're up from where they were. $2 a share. Now they're $4 a share. At one point they were $7 a share, but if I allocated into them, it'd be a very small amount, to be honest. And hopefully that's helpful, Dalen. Yeah, I like the quantum market. I'm in it. I'm in long term. Some of our best positions and gains this year have been in the quantum market. But I'm more selective about what I invest in the quantum market. It's not just like everything quantum I'm going to buy. I want to buy companies that are either backed by top tech or are on track to attract top tech. I just haven't seen that yet with LAS, but I have seen it with companies like Rigetti, IonQ, and D-Wave there. D-Wave not as much, but still got some D-Wave. And what else we got? I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. The important thing to know is that if you want to use AI like this, it's the first link down below. Cyber Monday is officially closing here out tonight. So go take advantage if you want to grab the machine. From the Prophecy app, we can get projections on any company using any AI model in the world, or the top AI models in the world, not any AI model. You got Grok, OpenAI, Claude, and Gemini. And not only do you get technical analysis, you get fundamental analysis, support and resistance analysis. You can see entry and exits, all that good stuff here. If you want to tune into our daily live trading sessions in StockMate, it's the second link below. You'll notice that it's every day, Monday through Friday. and you get a link in your email about 15 minutes before the market opens. And there is a code, I think it's Cyber200, that for the rest of today, you can get access to our daily live trading sessions, lifetime access, actually, for what it's worth. That is something that should and has been a subscription in the past, but we are momentarily here with lifetime access. If you want to get access, again, second link below, you get a free t-shirt, just like the one I'm wearing. And what else do you get? Oh, you get to ask me questions. If you got any questions, you get the whole community. Some of the articles we brought up earlier today, like Applied Digital, we have 30 millionaires in StockMates. If you want to tune on in, you can always join in to the live sessions. Appreciate you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.